Good afternoon, Senator Craven, Representative Farnsworth, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Health and Human Services. I am Senator Troy Jackson from Aroostook County. I represent Senate District 35, which is the northern half of Aroostook County. And I'm here today to ask you for support of my bill, LD 1663, resolved to terminate a MaineCare transportation contract. The purpose of this bill is to cancel the current MaineCare rides contract with Coordinated Transportation Solutions that began in August of this year. The MaineCare ride system services about 45,000 people a month, and since the change to a new ride system, there's been a mounting frustration with ongoing customer service problems. These problems have left our most vulnerable friends and neighbors without access to the critical care that they need. Of the three brokers, CTS has been the most egregious in the mishandling of their services. While it is true that each transition can come with its share of bumps, these problems go beyond simple growing pains. Since the change, countless clients have had difficulty booking rides, and according to Stephanie Netto, the director of the MaineCare services, 58% of callers hung up in frustration before reaching a live caller. In one notable case, a caller was put on hold for 21 hours waiting for help. Even in cases where the callers got through, the rides have been seriously delayed or have failed to show up altogether. In rural districts like mine in Aroostook County, there is often no other option for public transportation for those who need it. December 1 was the deadline for CTS to either meet their objectives or show progress toward meeting the goals. There's been no evidence of that happening, and the taxpayers of Maine have been left on the hook for $28 million in exchange for services that aren't being delivered. Perhaps the most troubling aspect of the new ride broker is the failure to secure a performance bond. This represents an extreme mismanagement and makes throwing any more money towards the current broker system an irresponsible risk. And if this wasn't enough, CDS has requested additional funds after failing to meet the terms of their contract. Now, we've given the new system a chance to work, and it hasn't. Our friends and neighbors can't wait for dialysis while the brokers get their act together, not to mention those who depend on a ride to get to their jobs. That's why colleague Senator Vlahovic has introduced a measure to replace this system with a program based on the Vermont model, which is much more similar to the system Maine had used effectively for years. This plan has been tested to be more efficient and effective, and as a system has met the requirements of the federal government. In the case that the contract with CTS is cancelled, but the new system has not been implemented, two brokers have said that they're willing to step in. American Metal Response and MTM are two well-funded national non-emergency transportation providers that are willing to take up the task of providing services. In other states, these providers have stepped in for CTS when they have fallen short there also. We should be moving forward with this proposal and cancel the existing contract with CTS to avoid further hardship for our citizens and further costs to the taxpayers. And I understand and know that the contract has been, or the CTS has been told today that they won't have their contract renewed. And some people might think that that things are going to be okay now, but I actually think that this bill is even more important now, because now that they know that they're not going to get their contract renewed, what incentive is there for them to do anything to fix the problems that they've had for the last 5 months? I don't want to see this company getting the golden parachute on their way out the door by not doing anything to make sure that these people get their rides. And that's what I think you're going to see in this lame duck type of contract that we have now. I can't stress enough the fact that I am not an expert on this issue at all and don't claim to be. But I do know that way back in January, I was told in a meeting of many constituents of Aroostook County that we're going to be having these problems because they didn't feel that the brokerage system would be working for Aroostook County. And I had hoped and wished and prayed that that would not happen. And as soon as the new system came in place, the phone started ringing, which I know you've all dealt with also. But unfortunately, it didn't stop ringing, and it hasn't right up until this week. And I do not think that taking the partisanship out of it and everything, that we should continue to have the system that makes people have to miss rides, miss appointments, and worry about their health care and making it to their jobs. I can't stress enough that I know that we all have districts that are particular to ourselves, but in my area, a taxi is non-existent. A bus is probably even harder to find. And there really is not very many options for many people. And you know, you can't be out. And last week there was from all the way to Van Buren, there was reports of 40 below weather. People can't be out there sticking their thumb up waiting for a ride for somebody going passing by. This is the only option that they have, and they deserve to know that when they have an appointment, they're going to be able to make it to it. I just finally want to say that, you know, I honestly believe that 5 months was more than enough time for people to get their act together. And like I said, now that they're not going to get their contract renewed, I think I'm even more concerned about where we're heading under the current system. So I would ask you that the policymakers, the people that do have the experience, to look very carefully at this and Senator Lehovich's bill and try and come up with something as soon as possible to make this program work the way that it should have. You know, again, in 11 years' time in the Maine legislature, I never had any complaints about the system that we had before. I realized that the federal government had concerns about it. Well, we should have stayed with that and corrected those concerns. But we have the chance now to do that. And we shouldn't allow a problem that you know, don't get caught up in trying to make something that just isn't working. You know, keep messing around with it. It just isn't. You know, let's just move on and try and do what's right for all of our constituents out there in Maine. So thank you for the opportunity. I will take any questions, and I appreciate your time here today.
Thank you.